What if I told you there were three simple things that you could do that would not only cause you to feel better about yourself, but that would actually help you to start liking yourself again and loving yourself again so that you can show up as the best version of you for your family? In this episode, you'll learn about three big ideas that you can use as a starting point to start feeling better about yourself again. Welcome to the Striving Satisfied Lifestyle, where I help you reconnect and stay connected to yourself, your spouse, and your kids, even when you're constantly being pulled in 100 different directions. I'm your host, Kyle Cook. Before I dive into the episode today, I want to give you free access to my activity, The Connection Rhythm. It's a simple one-page activity that will help you start to reconnect with yourself as an individual, your spouse as a couple, and your spouse and your kids as a family. So if you're looking for an easy way that's very simple to start reconnecting and creating a better life for yourself, your spouse, and your family, go to strivingsatisfied.com/start to download this activity now. It's completely free. There's no strings attached. But now, let's get into the episode. The first big idea I have for you today, or the first strategy, whatever you want to call it, is actually an activity that I developed. It's so simple, but I created it because of this saying that I believe in, and it's remember the past, live in the present, and plan for the future. So when we're feeling bad about ourselves, it's easy to get stuck like in the bad parts of the past or in the bad parts of the present moment and then have no hope for the future. This top 10 past activity is specifically designed for people when life is hard, right? When life is hard, we tend to just like get stuck and get down on ourselves and just can't get out of our own way. So for me, for example, when our son was born, being a new parent or being a parent for the first time was like the most challenging thing that I've ever done in my life. And I've done quite a bit. I have my pilot's license. I've graduated college with high honors. Like, I've done a lot, but having our son was so hard. And I got to a point where it was just like, what are we doing? Is this going to be the rest of our lives? And how are we going to figure this out? What are we going to do? And my wife was like, no, look, all of the things that we've accomplished, that we've done, yes, this is something completely new and a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging, but we can figure this out. And that's when it hit me. It's like, when we're in the thick of things, we need to connect back to the past, but not only just the past in general, the good things, the things we've accomplished, the fun we had, right? Not just being like, oh yeah, like we've done a lot, we've blah, blah. We need to be clear about our past and where we came from, where we've come from, and all of those things. So when things are hard, we should look back at the good times. And that's what this top 10 past exercise is all about. So this is big idea number one. And it's not just to help you feel better in the present moment, but it's to help you reground into who you actually are and what you've done, and to also help you plan for things in the future that will cause you to have more good times, right? Because when you're feeling bad about yourself in the present moment, it's oftentimes that you're stuck without hope. It's like, this is never ending, right? This moment of time, this season we're in, that a lot of people talk about, the seasons of life. It's like, this season that we're in isn't going to end, but everything ends. Everything has an end point. So by doing this exercise, you will learn, okay, we've had hard times, we've had good times, these are all the good times. How are we going to bring more good times into our life? Even if it's going horribly right now, like, let's create good times in our lives. And I love this line by Jordan Peterson. I'm going to kind of butcher it, but essentially he says that like, life is misery, so you do what you can in order to make it less miserable. And I'm not saying that life is miserable. I don't believe that. But this idea that life is easy or that we should just be happy and perfect, that's just a made up idea from movies and TV and media, social media, God help us all. When we're stuck, we need to take the whatever hectic season we are in and do the things that are necessary in order to make our lives better, regardless of what we're going through. So, this top 10 exercise is very simple, but grab a sheet of paper. You can do this by yourself. You can do this with your spouse. You could do this with your entire family because it's family friendly. All you do is write down these 5 categories. Accomplished, fun, excited, tried, and happiest. All you do for this is go through and write down the top 10 things that you've accomplished in the last 10 years, right? If you've never done this before, you could do it throughout your entire life. What are the top 10 things I've accomplished in my life? What are the top 10 most fun moments I've had in my life? And it can be a moment of your life for all of these, or it can be a year, right? The most fun year of our life was X, and the most fun moment of my life was Y. But so accomplished, fun, excited. This one, people are like, isn't fun and excited kind of tied together? They are, but what specifically were things in your life where you were excited? Like you woke up. For me, it's vacations, right? When I'm going on a vacation and we're like a week out, I'm up every morning, even earlier than I normally get up because I'm packing and I'm organizing all our crap that we're taking with us. But it's like, I'm excited. So what times in your life were you most excited? Just write down 10 of them. Then the next one is tried. What things in your life have you tried that you actually liked after you tried it? Or even things that you've tried that you ended up not liking, because those are some funny stories, right? My wife and I have gone to a restaurant before that we've always wanted to try and had a horrible experience, and we're like, well, good thing we tried it, but let's not go back there. So things that you try can turn out good or bad, but regardless of how they turn out, they can be funny and like a good memory to look back on. Then the last category is happiest. What are the happiest moments of your life? What are the happiest years of your life? What were you doing throughout those years, right? So this is the top 10 exercise. I don't want to beat it too much, but it's just like overall, what in your life has been good? And if you've never done this before, go back through your entire life. What was most fun? Because if you even go back to when you were a kid, the most fun things that you did, or the most excited times that you had as a kid, or the happiest, or the best things you tried as a kid, or things you accomplished as a kid, you can also use those as a parent to try to incorporate similar things into your child's life, right? So this is for you, or for you and your spouse, or your entire family, but you can use it by looking at the past and using it to bring in new but similar things into your life. And when you bring those new things into your life, that's when you start to feel better about yourself, right? You start to accomplish things. You start to have more fun. You start to plan out things that you're going to be excited for, or you plan out things that you're excited to try. You plan out things that make you happy. And I don't think that happiness is an aim to have in life, because happiness is not here to stay, right? One moment you can be happy, the next moment something horrible can happen. But building in new happy moments is a foundation of having a good life, right? So that's big idea number 1. Now I want to share big idea number 2 with you, because I know you're busy. I want to keep these things short and to the point because they're practical and you just have to go and implement them. So let's get on to the next thing. Big idea number 2 is a feels good list. And I love this one because it's so simple, but I also get pushback on it because it is so simple. They're like, people say, give me something more advanced. Give me something that's going to change my life. This list will change your life, because most people don't even know what actually feels good to them, right? Before I would do this, before I did this exercise for myself, there were things in my life that I thought made me feel good, right? Going out with friends, doing all these things. But then when I look at them and actually take the time to be like, is that what makes me feel good? I'd realize that there were a lot of things that I thought made me feel good that actually caused, had a butterfly effect essentially, where it's like, okay, going out with friends and having some drinks makes me feel good. But then the next day it's like, oh my God, I spent all that money. I don't feel well because I had a few too many drinks. And there are millions or hundreds, whatever you want to say, of things in your life that are like that. You think they make you feel good. It feels good to watch a movie and have some snacks and do all these things. But does it actually overall make you feel good in the long term? So this list is so important because we need clarity about the things that make us feel good if we want to feel better about ourselves. Because when I am doing things that actually make me feel good, I feel better about myself, because I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm taking care of myself. I'm doing a bunch of things that make me feel good, so it helps me feel better about myself. But the overarching picture is like, these things make me feel good. And the more that I do these things, the more I'm going to feel better about myself because I'm taking care of myself, right? I always think about it in terms of my home. When I don't get projects done around the house that I need to get done, I constantly am like, I can't even take care of my own home. How am I going to go help my friend move and set up their new apartment or their new home when I can't even take care of my own? And it's essentially the same thing, but with yourself, with your body, with your mind. So what makes you feel good? That's the list that you're going to create. And you start to add these things into your daily life. So don't overcomplicate it. Don't say going on vacation makes you feel good. I know it does, but what are the tiny little micro things that you feel good after doing? Is it relaxing and reading a book? Is it just sitting on your back deck in the morning with a cup of coffee? Is it making sure that you do your self-care routines, showering and clipping your nails and shaving and doing all those things? Like, what do you truly feel good after doing that have a lasting effect, whether it's for the day or the night or the week or the month? But I just find that so many things that I was doing weren't actually things that made me feel good over the long term or for an extended period of time, right? Or they had correlations that it was like, this makes me feel good in the moment, but what about my future self, right? So think about your future self in terms of, when I do this, it kind of sucks now when I do this, but my future self always feels better for it. The thing that I want you to do with this is just make a list of all the things that make you feel good and really think about them in the way I've talked about it. Then simply implement one or two of these things into your life on a regular basis. An example for me and my life is that I am a person that needs my alone time. There's no doubt about it. So when I wake up, like a lot of families, they'll all wake up at the same time, right? The parents wake up and the kids are already getting up, or they go get the kids up. I am a miserable person to be around if I wake up and get thrown directly into the day. So what makes me feel good is waking up 1 to 2 hours prior to my entire family. I wake up, if we're at our family's lake house, I still get up before everybody else. I'm not just talking about my immediate family. It's like, no matter who I'm with, I get up an hour or two before everybody so that I can have that alone time, because that makes me feel good throughout the entire day. Another way of thinking about this is that you can you would want to think about what makes you show up as the best version of yourself, because that typically is what makes you feel good. Let me give you this example. When I don't wake up 1 to 2 hours prior to whoever I'm with, my family, or up at the lake house with our entire family, I am not the best version of myself. Therefore, I wake up early. No matter how late I stay up, I still wake up early. So it kind of sucks waking up at that time. However, it causes me to be a better version of myself. I can show up better for the people that I love and for myself if I do that. So just think about it in that way. Don't overcomplicate it, and make sure that you just create this feels good list so that you have it to reference, and just pick one thing a day or one thing a week to focus on doing that will make you feel good throughout your time. Big idea number 3. This is what I call stop doing and start doing. And there's a couple of ways that this can be done, but I want to just point out that number 1 was your top 10 past, and that was to just get you thinking about things that you've experienced and done in the past that you enjoyed and that made you feel good, right? So you can use the top 10 past to do the big idea number 2, which was your feels good list, because all of those things in the top 10 past are things that felt good, right? So you can use number 1 to build number 2, but you can also use number 1 and number 2 to help you with this big idea. And essentially, the stop and start doing is just, there are things in our lives that we know we should stop doing or that we should start doing. For my wife and I, one thing, there's a million, right? But one thing was, before our son was born, we used to eat in front of the TV all the time. We'd sit in the living room. We had our TV trays like we're 90 years old, and we just, eat our dinner and watch our favorite shows or our favorite movie, and we just do that. But we knew that we wanted to stop doing that, and we also wanted to start eating at the dinner table. So these can be correlating things. And what I mean by that is, you'd get a sheet of paper and write stop doing on one side and start doing on the other. So you may have like stop eating dinner while watching TV in the living room. And a correlating start doing would be start eating dinner at the dining room table. So these things on this list can be correlating items, so 1 for 1, or it can be separate. It can be, I need to start drinking 20 ounces of water every morning when I wake up. Yes, you could put stop drinking coffee, but if you don't want to stop drinking coffee or tea when you wake up, then you wouldn't put that on the stop list. And it's important to have this, not so that you see all the things that are wrong with you, right? Your whole stop doing and start doing list, that's essentially a bunch of crap that is like, oh no, these are things that I'm not doing right. But when you start to work on these things is when you will start to feel better about yourself. You know what you should stop or start doing. Yes, there are a million things, but create this simple list, because you can drastically change your life by using this method. Using this stop and start doing is literally how one of the aspects of how I lost over 50 pounds, how I stopped smoking cigarettes, how I stopped drinking alcohol every day. It's like these things that I'm giving you to feel better about yourself are such simple strategies that they seem almost useless to do. But I think that's why they're so important, is because people want this big life-changing thing. And Striving Satisfied is all about your lifestyle, right? It's improving your lifestyle. And that's how you actually make a change. If you're going to try to lose 50 pounds, like I did, that's a big goal. That's a hard thing to do. But if you're like, I want to lose 50 pounds, here's 3 things I need to stop doing. Here's 3 things I need to start doing. That's what I'm going to focus on for a month. And then at the end of the month, if I've lost some weight, I'm going to double down and add a couple more things I should stop doing and start doing. Or if at the end of the month I haven't lost any weight, then I'm going to reconsider, okay, is Are these 3 things I said I should stop doing, are those really what's going to help me get to my goal? And it's not only about accomplishing goals, it's also about just improving your way of life, like I said, with the eating at the dining room table. It doesn't matter to lose weight, for example, whether I eat at the dining room table or I eat in the living room, because all that matters is what the heck I'm eating at those locations. So it doesn't have to be about goals, but it needs to be about just small, tiny little incremental changes in your lifestyle. So what I want you to do is use number 1, big idea, the top 10 paths, and number 2, the feels good list, to start thinking about, okay, well, these things feel good, and these are things that I enjoyed in the past, so I need to start doing some of these things again. But I also want you to think, like, what am I doing that I know I shouldn't keep doing for the rest of my life? Like, when I'm 80, is this gonna benefit me, or is this going to hurt me by the time I'm 80 years old? So just think about that and get your list going. Just grab a sheet of paper, left side, right side, stop doing, start doing. Get your list and focus on a couple of things over the next month, and just pick 2 or 3 to focus on, and you'll be good. And you can always make adjustments, because that's what Striving Satisfied is all about, is that I'm not saying any of this is like, you have to commit to this for the rest of your life. It's like, no, that doesn't work. At least it doesn't work for me. And I haven't seen, it work for a lot of people. Honestly, it's, we need to stop doing this and we need to start doing this. And one more thing I'd actually like to add into this, I just thought of, is when I quit smoking cigarettes, right? Essentially, the goal is to stop smoking cigarettes for the rest of your life. That's the ultimate goal. But when I thought about it, and the way I quit smoking was like, okay, I'm going to not smoke any cigarettes for a week. It started out like I'm not going to smoke cigarettes for 2 hours. And then I made it 2 hours, and I made it a day, and then I made it a week, then I made it a month. But my point is that I wasn't saying like, this is what I'm doing and I'm never going to smoke a cigarette again. I'm blah, blah, blah. I was just like, okay, let's see. Let's try this out. How am I going to stop smoking for a day? Once I figured that out, I stopped smoking for a week, because it was just a series of days. And what actually happened in my life for me with this process was that I was able to, trust me, I failed. I'll say this, I failed 100 times. I tried quit smoking for like 2 years. It didn't go well. But eventually I got to the point where I made it so small, it's just like 1 day, 1 hour, 1 week, whatever, that I got to a point where the time frame had been so long, like 20 days or 21 days of not smoking, and my mindset around it actually flipped, and it was no longer like I'm trying not to smoke. It was just like I didn't want to. So that's why these small incremental changes are so vital and so life-changing, right? I drastically changed my health by these tiny little things I was doing. So I just wanted to leave you with that last thing. The overall takeaway, the main takeaway that I want you to get from this today is that you don't need to overhaul your life within a week. Make small incremental changes throughout your entire life, right? This week it's these little changes, next week it's these little changes, next month it's these. Don't even think about those, but I'm saying in terms of your rhythm for getting better, just take it a week at a time, or a day at a time, or an hour at the time, like I had to do with not smoking. I'm not here to talk about how great I am, because I'm not. It was people see me now and they're like, oh my god, he quit smoking after smoking for X amount of years and all of this. But it's like, I failed at it for 5 freaking years trying to stop. So don't get caught up in the big picture. Look at the small details about what you do on a daily basis. And just to summarize, the top 10 past was big idea number 1. It helps you connect with the past and things you enjoyed. And it helps you also feel better about where you're at today, because you've realized, you realize that you accomplished all of these things and you've done all these things and you've had all this fun, but it also gives you an idea for the future. What do you want the future to be like? If we can take things from the past that were amazing in our lives and just try to build them into the future, we'll have a brighter future. We'll have more hope for the future, even if it's really hard right now. The feels good list, that was the most simple thing, right? What makes you feel good? What makes you happy? What makes you feel like the best version of yourself? What makes you show up as the best version of yourself? And then the stop and start doing, I'm not going to go over that again because I just talked about it, but you know what you need to stop doing. You know what would make your life better if you started doing. So do that. The action that I want you to take after this episode today is just do all three of these strategies in order. And the reason in order is important is because, like I said before, they build on each other. The top 10 past is the starting point. You use it to build your feels good list along with some other things. And then you use those two to figure out your stop and start doing list. Those three strategies will help you start feeling better about yourself. And most importantly, make sure you commit to 30 days, right? Give yourself 30 days once you do this to just test it out, try it out, practice with it. Don't look at this as it has to be perfect. Look at it like practice. So some days you're going to suck. Some days you're going to do very well and be so confident in your ability. And then the next day you're going to suck because that's just how it happens. Before I go, I just want to remind you to go download my Connection Rhythm activity. It's completely free and it will help you so much to start reconnecting with yourself, your spouse, and your kids. Just go to strivingsatisfied.com/start. And just remember, our lives are a result of what we do on a daily basis. So let's enjoy where we're at today while doing what's necessary to make our lives even better in the future.